It was a damp, cold weekend night, somewhere between 10:30 and 11 p.m. I had been to a movie with a couple of friends and was walking home along Como Lake Road in Coquitlam through a particularly dark and unnerving part of the walk. Mundy Park, a large forest, was on one side of the road, and Dr. Charles Best, my old junior high school, also bordered by the forest, was on the other side. I'd been jumped on these roads before, so I figured I would stay close to the school, since that made me feel more comfortable. To continue my path home, I had to cross the baseball and soccer field, staying close to the forest. As I got to the field, where it was darker, a bulbous-headed creature, short and thin, literally fell from the sky and landed on its 2 feet several paces in front of me to my left. What happened next was pure terror and panic. I couldn't have moved more than a foot or two before I was frozen in my attempt to get away. One leg was bent in the air, my arms were out, full running position, and yet I didn't fall over. I was being suspended in the air somehow. I didn't understand it at the time, but buried or sealed memories were being opened up by this thing's presence. And those memories were of childhood contact events that I wasn't even aware had happened, having been kept from my everyday awareness. Being frozen sent me into a state of absolute terror, and I began pushing with all my might to move. Then I heard it in my head say, "You won't be able to move, no matter how hard you try." My panic increased, and I tried even harder to push. Then, it reassured me with sincerity and concern. "It's okay, we're not gonna harm you, we're friendly." Hearing this made me stop fighting, and that's when I finally mustered up the courage to look at this thing. With my eyes adjusted to the dark and the city light reflecting off the low clouds, I could clearly make out a 4 foot tall creature with an alien face. Big head, large downwards pointing, piercing black eyes, cheekbones, a small slit for a nose, and a small mouth. Humans are strongly conditioned to see in our own kind of face, but this creature's mouth and nose were grossly disproportionate to the eyes and head. No picture someone sees does justice to the actual experience of witnessing one of these faces. It was highly disturbing. As I stood there staring at it, childhood memories flooded in, and I realized I recognized this being. It said, come with us to our ship." Staring blankly at it, too shocked to respond and fearing for my life, I heard it say one more time with sincerity and friendliness, "Come with us to our ship, we'll bring you right back." As I stood there, I recalled a memory of being on their ship at a very young age, possibly around 5 or 6 years old, and I was safe. It was as if it gave me a moment to remember, like it was trying to say, "You know us from before, and we've shown you that we are safe." As I stared into the dark black eyes, which induced in me feelings of mysticism, wonder, and amazement, I realized that this might be actually interesting. Just like that, the youthful risk taker in me decided to trust this, and I said, "Okay." With a bright flash, I was gently but quickly pulled upwards by a force, passing the treetops and into the low-lying clouds, with the cold, moist air brushing against my skin. The force slowed the closer I got to the large pitch-black object, which I could now see above me, and I realized with surprise that the being must have come from this object, even though I couldn't hear or see it from the ground. The craft was so large, I couldn't see it in its entirety. Yet, I assumed it was a V-shaped winged craft based on the angle I was viewing it from beneath its belly. An orange-amber circular light glowed underneath, and the craft itself was so black it could hide in the night sky. I experienced an overwhelmingly joyful surge of energy, which I knew was connected to me having prayed to be abducted. It wasn't joyful simply because my prayer had been answered. It was joy from some deeper part of me that knew it was time for whatever this was to happen. That was the true desire behind why I prayed for something I didn't fully understand. The only way I can define that energy surge now is as the first time I experienced my spirit, though I didn't understand it in that way at that time. It showed me that I was connected to what was happening in a much larger and deeper way than I had ever known. Then I was teleported into the ship. I found myself standing in a small hangar with a tan curved wall roughly 60 feet long. There were 5 small shiny silver pod-like crafts on tripods, tightly packed together on my left. 5 beings stood in front of me, with one standing out in shape from the other 4. It was about 4 feet tall, with a large head that formed an elongated cone at the back, and it wore tight-fitting tan coveralls with a light red band down the middle of the suit. I assumed this was the one who had approached me. The other 4 were smaller, roughly 3.5 feet tall, with large cranium-like heads, but without the cone shape. They were dressed in tight pale green/grey coveralls. All of them were hairless, with slits for a mouth, flat noses, and black reflective downward angled eyes. The taller being greeted me. "Hi, Jeff," emphasizing that it knew who I was and that I had had a history with them. I was apprehensive, trying to process not only what was happening around me, but also what was happening inside me, with my feelings and these returning memories. They were trying to make me feel comfortable. I heard, "Welcome. Thanks for coming with us. You won't regret it. We've come to help you at this time." The feeling was one of incredible friendliness and kindness, but it didn't make sense to me when this being said it was here to help me at this time. It spoke like it knew me. They invited me to accompany them, abruptly turning and walking away. As I followed, I noticed how slim they were, with soft, insect-like arms and legs. In my memory, the entire place had an indescribable vibe. Alien, advanced consciousness, and advanced technology. The entire craft felt alive. We walked into the bright hallway and then turned left through an arched doorway. I briefly remember thinking to myself, that was easy. We entered a clean room with 2 curved desks molded into the floor, placed at right angles to each other. Behind one of the desks was a large black screen and a single office-like chair made for someone of their size. I was confused because the being with the elongated cone clearly wanted to show me something. It pointed for me to come to the wall, where there was a computer panel, while the 4 small beings gathered behind us. It touched a button and I saw a holographic projection of abstract images protrude out from the panel. It said in my head, "This is the reason why you are here." I distinctly felt that this being had a female presence, that it was a woman. Later, I would come to feel clearly that it was an elder stateswoman, like a chief or a being with power. And from this point on, I refer to her as the Elder. I was amazed by this hologram, because I had never seen anything like it before. The hologram displayed a row of images: a blue cuboid, a 3-dimensional rectangle, a red cuboid, a white comet, and a white dot. She emphasized their importance. "This is what we are here to help you with. This is your future outline of things to come." I was highly uncomfortable with the way that she was speaking in my head. I was on edge, and I didn't trust them. They moved in a strange, controlled-like manner, made even more unsettling by their insect-like physique. When she said she knew my future, I didn't believe her. Who can see the future? Also, why the hell was it so immediately personal? That's not something you expect from an event like this. I turned around and saw the smaller beings behind me, and they freaked me out. I said out loud, "I want to go." She reached out her arm compassionately, telling me it was okay. Then she moved her head in a way that seemed meant to draw my focus to her eyes, like she was pushing her energy out to hold my attention. and when I looked, it calmed me down. I actually felt like I could connect with this being behind the strange and frightening appearance. She said, "We will not harm you. There's nothing to be scared of. I assure you, we're friendly." I could feel her sincerity and truthfulness when I focused on her eyes. Still scared, but also curious, I decided to be brave and trust her. And I asked what these holograms were, though I still couldn't believe that they could actually see my future. She said, "It is your destiny to leave the place you're growing up in, and a future life will occur somewhere else." I stared into her eyes, trying to understand the communication. And by the way, believe it or not, words like destiny and soul were her words. They weren't even in my vocabulary at the time. She continued, "These are your time periods that we would like to work with you in. We are interested in here, here, and here." She was referring to the first 3 holographic images out of the 4. She pointed out to the blue cuboid and said, "This is where we help you." As a hologram, it appeared as roughly 6 inches of blue-colored data and strands of light, something I simply could not understand. Then she pointed at the red cuboid, represented as red-colored data and strands of light, and said, "This is where we help you leave your home, and we would like to watch you as you grow. You will be free from your societal ideas to create what we provide for you." Leave my home? As a 16-year-old teenager, those ideas were nowhere near my mind. She didn't explain the last 2 holograms. I was so perplexed by these images in my timeline because they meant absolutely nothing to me. All I understood that something in my future seemed important to them. She said, "This is your destiny that we will make happen together. While we help you, you will help us by allowing us to watch you grow. What else would you like to know?" Trying to take this as real, I asked her how she would make me leave. She explained, "You will discover your soul, which will propel you to leave. We will help you create an identity that you will use to do this." As a teenager, I believed in a soul, but I had no real understanding of what it was. And yet, at the same time, she was speaking telepathically. I could feel her, and I was starting to find her sincere and kind. So I asked, "Why me?" She said, "We find this to be an opportunity to grow one of our own." And as she said it, she opened a childhood memory of an event that had taken place behind my friend's house when I was 5 or 6 years old. That event had not been in my mind before this night, but I could feel that it really had happened. In that memory, one of those beings showed me an image in my child mind of my mother lying on a table, conscious and smiling. She was pregnant with me and was being injected with a giant needle into her womb, suggesting that something of these beings had been put into me while I was still a fetus. As I climbed down, I began to realize how deeply they had hidden this in the background of my childhood, which explained why there was already a familiarity with this being. She continued, "We want to help one of our own. We've been watching you, and we like you. Your personality and characteristics match what we're looking for." As I stood there with the elder, the reality began to dawn on me that something was within me, and that somehow this all felt right. Putting the pieces together, my mind raced with thoughts of telling people, friends, family, all about this incredible experience. Then she said, "If you agree to work together, you won't remember any of our experiences." That caught me off guard, especially because she seemed to be responding directly to my thoughts. "You will only ever remember these events when we meet with you. It will be in secret. This will benefit both of us. Do you agree to work together?" In essence, these beings saw an opportunity for an exchange. They would help me with a transition that they saw in my future if I agreed to be part of an experiment, one where they would help me discover my soul, and in doing so, study and analyze me. I had no real understanding of what they were truly asking of me, And yet, I could now see childhood memories of these beings. And in those memories, I was never harmed. I felt special knowing they had been hidden in the background of my life without my everyday awareness. And with their abilities, I rationalized that they were in charge anyway. I understood right away that this was far beyond getting permission from my parents or from anyone else. This felt too big, and I was already a part of it without even knowing. I was still on the edge from how strange all of this was, but I wanted to see where it would go. So I said, okay, I want to work with you. The moment I opened up to her, I felt her warm presence, like she was patting me on the back in psychic form. She explained the agreement further. Our exchange won't be for nothing. What we will give you, we will provide now. Then we will slowly open you to it over time. We've been working on this plan for some time, and we know you won't regret it. Our work with you will benefit our understanding of humankind. I asked, is there anything else I should do? She said, keep your heart and mind open to learning new things. I asked, can you tell me who you are? She said, we are humanity's agents of change. Then she showed me a giant cog on the holographic device. Throughout my contact events, these beings would use symbols and imagery through consciousness-based holograms, demonstrating their understanding of the effects such imagery has on the human subconscious. When I stared at them, they connected on a deeper level within me, delivering subconscious information that I could only interpret through feeling. The best analogy I can give for these holograms is that they were like computer avatars or programs being read by my soul. Looking back now, that giant cog hologram reminds me of the Mayan calendar. I don't know if that's actually what it was, because I didn't see Mayan imagery, but I could feel that it meant a new era or age had come upon humanity. Within the depth of the image, I could feel that humans were entering a stage of evolution that was spiritual in nature. And at the center of this change was our collective planetary identity as human beings. She continued, you will play a part in helping us understand humans as they move into an evolution of the soul. You will also benefit by evolving your own soul. Your evolution will also take place. I distinctly felt from her words, combined with the holograms, that I would be a part of something much larger. One of millions of humans with a similar mission to help evolve humanity. Then she projected another image into my mind, another form of communication I would continue to experience during my contact events. It was the kind of projection where I could see a detailed image in my mind's eye, filled with rich feelings that I could interpret. She projected an image of planet Earth, with silhouettes of an ape and a human overlaid on top. I understood this to mean that the scale of evolution about to occur was comparable to ape to human, just not biological. We began leaving the room when she turned to me and locked eyes. She said, we are birthing a new idea, a concept never before spoken of between our species and yours. No one will know about this, and it will only be effective when it's blocked from your mind. So we will be blocking it, and we want you to help us with that. We want you to never look at this. If you have any questions about it, turn your mind away. Take care of it. We must protect it for it to work properly. I sensed the urgency of that protection, that the other version of me could never know, and I agreed. When we left that room, I was filled with purpose, determination, and respect for the protection of our agreement. In 2016, they would release this command, which is how you are reading this now. In the next post, I'll describe what happened to me during the rest of this experience. And that's the story, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.